Aful hasn't been featured all that much on the channel, but today we have one in the studio. The Performer 5+2. It is going to be ultra painful if I keep saying its 6-syllable name for the purpose of this review. So I'm just going to call it the 5+2. Way easier. If you're going to ask me to say like Performer 5+2 throughout the whole video, I think I could just bite my tongue and die. Aful, not awful, has been performing pretty well of late with great releases, but will the 5+2 carry on this legacy? Unboxing. It's nice that the 5+2 features a photo rather than a boring render on the front sleeve, and might I add, is quite a beautiful picture as well. Of course, on the sleeve, Aful Not Awful would highlight some of its technology incorporated into the 5+2, such as the 3D printed tube structure rather than the traditional soft tube that is very commonly used. What they call the RLC network frequency division correction technology, which is another mouthful of things, is basically a crossover network. And lastly, the damping air pressure balance system technology, which is basically their pressure equalization. At the back of the sleeve, you get more in-depth tech specifications for those of you who like that sort of thing. Under the sleeve and inside the box, you will be first greeted by the Aful lid, which seems like it holds some literature, but no, really, it's just essentially just purely a lid. After which you will see the IEMs themselves and a hockey puck metal case to transport your IEMs in. Below that, you get 3 different sets of ear tips in an assortment of sizes, very normal stuff. Okay, so maybe one set more than others. Inside the hockey puck case, you will have the cable that is provided with the 5+2. Build quality. The chassis of the 5+2 is that of a really common custom universal shape that has become so commonplace these days that it's almost forgettable. Fortunately though, it has quite a lovely faceplate with some geometric shapes that is coloured in a way that really reminds me of a opal-like finish. The main chassis is a sort of black gloss that is really very commonplace. You see it all the time. I do think that it looks rather nice, if not the most memorable thing out there. It also features a 2-pin termination, which is a great deal for folks who own a bunch of cables and want to have a heyday swapping them around. The chassis seems pretty sturdy for one, but it's still made of resin, so I'm definitely not going to put my ass on them. Inside the chassis is where things start to get a bit more interesting. Now, this is a tribrid IEM that incorporates different driver types, including the likes of a dynamic driver, actually 2, balance armatures and planar drivers. As its name implies, they total to about 7 drivers per side, 2 dynamic drivers, 4 balance armature and 1 planar. And if my elementary math taught me well, that adds up to a total of 7. The cable provided here is a nice 8-core cable, which features a grand total of 144 strands of silver-plated copper conductors that is terminated to a 4.4mm termination. I like how easy it is to use this cable, as it features a rather nicely done box braid that is very easy to handle. So the 5+2 features a V-shaped tuning, one that is a little bit more moderate rather than the more extreme Vs that we have been seeing of late, and this results in a pair of earphones that is very essentially easy to like. The biggest thing that the 5+2 does right would be that it has a very nicely balanced vocal performance that remains very largely smooth and has good levels of detail, and it's actually really rather nimble in the whole soundscape. It has an overall clean bass that supports a mid-range very well. Dynamics here is on the whole decent, but it comes with a caveat. To access it, you would need a beefier dongle or DAP to unlock such dynamics. Otherwise, it will still do okay, but it has always made me wish for that bit more whenever I use it. For some context, I use the EPZ TP35, which is an okay dongle that delivers adequate sonics and dynamics, but it really doesn't have that much drive. The Activo P1 was used as well, which is quite a bit better, and of course the Lotupor GT2, which paired beautifully with the 5+2. Some say overkill, all of which was used through the 4.4mm output. So starting off with bass. Bass is quick and mercurial, but carries good weight that delivers impactful immersive bass experience. These do not really qualify as bass hit IEMs, so for fans who are looking for earth-shattering levels of bass, you can start looking away now. They, however, took a more balanced approach to bass that will make them work with 99% of all genres out there in the market. Sub-bass here is fast with good weight that transitions to a polite mid-bass rendering. It has good levels of resolution here as well. I highly suspect that the bass is rendered through the 2 dynamic drivers, as it has a type of tautness that cannot be replicated through the use of balance armatures or planars. There is this very natural expansion of sound that is happening that is a tonal characteristic of dynamic drivers. Next up, mid-range. Mid-range is the highlight of the 5 Plus 2, especially when it comes to vocals because it manages to render them simply beautifully. There is this liquidness when it comes to the vocal rendering as it is just so smooth, but it has also really rather good resolution as well. Clarity do well with the 5 Plus 2. It is quite effortless to hear the various layers of mid-range instruments. Even with musically complex genres such as classical music, the different layers of music and parts remain largely clear and cohesive. As such, I do find that the 5 Plus do quite well when it comes to classical music. Treble extension here is excellent. It goes to the high treble quite effortlessly with no strain. It provides a very nice lift to the overall signature, adding air to the sonic scape that allows for a more spacious perception of music. Also, the more modest presentation of bass on the 5 Plus allows for a clearer treble presentation. Soundstage, so let's talk about width and height. For the price, the width and height presentation on the 5 Plus 2 is quite exemplary. It does well for both these two aspects. And of course, talking next would be depth and positioning. That remains largely good, not reaching exceptional levels as I found that the dynamics needs to be a tad bit better before reaching those echelons. Positioning on the other hand is fantastic through the good levels of treble, which really aids in positioning. And of course, I need to do some comparisons. So firstly versus the FatFreq Deuce. So okay, to cut things short, the 5 Plus 2 simply just outperforms the Deuce when you consider technicalities. It is just superior when it comes to resolution, soundstage, and separation. However, the Deuce was never meant to compete technically anyway. So sure, it has decent technicalities, but its real power lies in its ability to have fun. It has stupid amount of bass, which when listening to bass forward genres can really set your heart racing with these beautiful pulses. The 5 Plus 2 on the other hand is more traditional and would be a better all-rounder by comparison. Next up versus the 7Hz Timeless 2. Now the Timeless 2 is the latest follow-up to the legendary Timeless, which really put 7Hz on the map. The Timeless 2 follows up with improved mid-range control and innovative nozzle selection for you to tweak its sound somewhat. I do feel that the Timeless 2 has a hair more resolution, but you are just splitting hairs at this point. Between the two, the 5 Plus 2 is a tad bit smoother as well, so if you like your music buttery smooth, then the 5 Plus 2 is your perfect choice. If you want a bit more resolution, then just go to Timeless. And finally, when it comes to ratings, firstly bass, it has really high detail, it's fast, but can be a little bit better by having a tad bit more dynamics. I can't score it higher than a 7, but they're still really good though. Mid-range is smooth with good resolution and great separation. It gets a 7.5. Treble is airy with very decent extension, so it gets a 7.5. Overall resolution is good. It gets a 7.5. Soundstage, it is basically spacious, wide, but can have a bit more depth, so it gets a 7. And finally, in conclusion, the 5 Plus 2 is an impressive IEM from Aful Not Awful, who have done a great job of crafting easy-to-like IEMs. These will perform best when you feed it more power like most IEMs, as dynamics would really come alive should you feed it with power. And before I go, I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to Mumbai. By now, I'm a bit of a loud hailer already, keep repeating the same old stuff. But if you are at Headphone Connect in Mumbai, I'd like to see you guys soon. Please drop by. We got some new merch that it's quite nice.
I'm also going to Mumbai.
Person behind the camera is also going to Mumbai, so you get to see us. With that said, yeah, after that we'll be going to Can Jam NYC, so very happy to see everybody and it's always nice to meet. With that said, I hope you like this week's video of the Super Chunks Super Audio Show with now blue and pink lights, and I'm saying random things right now. Anyways, that's it. See you guys soon.